Okay, Linda.
Right, thank you. Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So we have quite a few apologies, so hopefully that isn't going to affect anything. Declarations of interest. Anybody, any declarations of interest they wish to declare?
No, Chair.
No?
No.
Fine, thank you. Public question time. Joanne, have we any members of the public?
No, I've not been notified of any questions.
Right, thank you. To approve or otherwise the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of January. Gosh, that seems ages ago, doesn't it now?
Move it.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll second that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All in favour? All three of us? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Police and community safety issues. Doesn't look as if the police are going to.
May I suggest that as it is possible that the police tend to arrive sometimes late, could we defer this to towards the end of the meeting in case PC Dibs or Co does arrive?
Oh, and PC Dibs, we'll bring him in. So, yeah. As you say, he does tend to, depends what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. No planning applications?
No.
Planning appeals. You seem to have quite a few appeals.
Yes, we certainly have.
Yes, people don't seem to like our decisions.
No.
Madam Chairman.
May I come in there?
Yes.
Please. Robin speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Robin.
Well, if it might entertain you slightly, since this looks as though it's going to be a short meeting, but I do want to just mention something on the appeal, which is 200017, which is the Stonefold appeal. If you would bear to listen to me. I think you may be somewhat acquainted with this by now.
Yes.
You'll remember it's the one for the 5 cabins and
Yes.
and 2 apartments in the AONB. And I have in fact emailed 1 or 2 people on the committee about a situation which I think is a bit unusual and which has arisen here. And I just wanted to say this. The stage to which this appeal has reached at the moment is that objections have gone in and the council's statement has just gone in. I managed to get a copy of it yesterday. And there is a final deadline of this coming Monday, the 8th of March, when the council could put in any further comments on anything arising then, and then that's the deadline. As I say, I have emailed 1 or 2 people. The unusual situation in this case was that this is an appeal, not on the thing that was last before you in January, but on the earlier application, which was in virtually the same terms, and which was refused at Policy and Resources on 2 grounds of highways safety and access, and secondly of the AONB. And I think you may recall that. What happened was that then, for rather extraordinary reasons, it seemed, the applicant made a further application which came before you in January, which was virtually in the same terms, except that they had put in a couple of documents, a speed survey and a visibility display thing, about the access point, or at least part of the access point, the access as opposed to the highway safety point. And that was before you. And I spoke at that stage, and various other people spoke. And your decision simply was, well, we can, which was in accordance with the planning officer's recommendation, was that you would refuse it on the AONB ground because there was nothing new whatsoever about that. Now, I think there may have been some misunderstanding between the planning officers and at least some of the committee members, and from what I can tell, a majority of the committee members, as to what should be done or what the results would be in relation to the other ground that the Policy and Resources Committee had decided, which was highway safety and also mainly highway safety. It was access as well. You heard at the meeting in January that there were still concerns about highway safety and access. You heard that from the objectors who spoke at that meeting, including myself, and also I think two of your councillors, Councillor Turner and Councillor Newman, were both saying that there are still concerns about highway safety and access here, despite the fact that there was that additional material in, and there was also a letter from the LCC Highways, which certainly seemed to, in their view, accept the visibility display access point, although highway safety was a bit more doubtful. And the planning officer had said in his statement to you that he considered those highways and safety access points were resolved. But you heard at the meeting that there were concerns, and you heard that from a couple of councillors as well as the objectors. The route you took then was to take what I would describe as the easy course, and it seemed to be the obvious course, of saying, well, we will refuse this on the AONB ground, and we don't need to do anything more about highway safety and access, because the planning officer had said to you during the course of her short guidance on the point that there was an appeal pending where the two reasons for decision by the PNR committee were on the table, and it was common ground that the inspector, when he comes to look at everything, could look at everything in the round, and therefore would be able to look at the highways safety and access issues as well. All that seemed fine to me, and certainly I think I must have been ignorant on this procedure as well, perhaps. But what has happened, and I think you are aware of this from emails I have written, is that the planning officer, possibly rightly, I don't know, in planning office terms, says, well, if you didn't do anything else on the highway safety issue when it was before you on that further appeal, on that further application, you have now accepted that highway safety and access issues are resolved, and you accept that on behalf of the whole council. Consequently, his appeal statement, which is now gone in, reads in this way on that one point. It says that following the determination of the application, and that's the one that's under appeal, a revised application, that's the second one, was submitted, which included the submission of traffic speed survey and visibility displays, and those details have also been submitted in support of this appeal. Those details acceptably resolved the first reason for refusal of this decision, and the revised application was refused on the basis of the second reason, AONB, only. Therefore, the first reason for refusal has been resolved effectively by your decision at that meeting in January, by the additional, he says, resolved by the additional details submitted with the subsequent application as appeal. And they have satisfactorily demonstrated that there are adequate visibility displays which can be ensured by condition. Therefore, this statement will only defend the second reason, that is AONB, for refusal. Consequently, you've got a position where, and I think there's a misunderstanding, possibly, I invite you to consider that, where as a result of what you didn't do in January, by not making any decision on the highway safety and access, which was then before you, that has been interpreted as being a decision that you accept highway safety and access, and the council's statement has gone in on that basis. And yes, there's a long statement defending on AONB, which is great, but there is nothing at all about that. I'm not suggesting that you should try to ask the planning officer to change his statement or anything like that, but I think that is a matter of concern. If I'm right in my understanding, and I have spoken with 3 of your councillors, Councillor Newman, Councillor Turner, and Councillor Conti, from all of whom it is my understanding that they did not realise that in not doing any decision or not specifically refusing on the highway and safety ground as well in January of this year on the further application, they have been taken to have accepted it is resolved, and that's the position being put to the inspector. And that seems to me to be unfortunate, if indeed it is a misunderstanding. What I'm going to invite you to consider is whether or not, given the fact that you've got a further deadline of the 8th of March, which is Monday, where further comments by the council could be put in, you might wish to do some form of explanatory letter or supplemental statement, either yourself or through the planning officer, just explaining that position very simply, that it had not been your intention, if this be the case, to make any further decision on the highway safety and access point, because knowing that there was an appeal, and that's why it's an unusual situation, it doesn't arise very often, I would have thought, where you have one existing appeal and then something else comes up which is going to affect it. But knowing that there is an appeal, your intention was to leave that highway safety issue open for decision by the inspector in the round. And he can, of course, do that because there are objections about it. But it is unfortunate in my submission that there is a statement there by the council saying, well, technically, you have now accepted that there is no issue on highway safety. It has been resolved. And I believe that a majority of your members are indeed unhappy with that situation. And perhaps a short explanatory letter could be sent in either to the inspector or via the planning officer, just a statement saying, well, that was not our intention. And we had intended that it be left in the round for the inspector to look at. That's my suggestion. I don't know what you feel about that, but it is my concern.
Thank you very much, Robin. Mr. Walker, I believe you wish to.
I only simply wanted to continue with protocol, Chair. He was allowed 5 minutes to speak and had far exceeded that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I am here as a sorry. Perhaps I could have made it clear that I am speaking there on behalf of my parish council, and I am a parish council representative. And what I have just said is something that I went over with my parish council 2 weeks ago and explained that situation. They have a lot of continuing concerns about highway safety and access, and I was putting that submission to you on behalf of my parish council.
Thank you, Robin. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I listened to Robin and I had put my hand up purely to propose that perhaps in view of what Robin has now so eloquently outlined, I would propose that we put a letter into the planning office to draw attention to our original objections and our concerns at the last planning application on the highway safety issues. And I would like to propose that we put a note in drawing their attention to what we have previously agreed, to make sure that they're fully aware and for them to make sure that that is considered by the inspector. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Newman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just slightly bewildered with this. How can the planning officer say that the situation has been resolved when nothing's been resolved there? Can somebody enlighten me?
Well, I'm sorry, unfortunately, there isn't a planning officer here at the moment, but there later.
We have concerns that we've raised. None of the concerns have been rectified, and I'm with everyone that was at the meeting about this planning that we should send a letter and strongly reject what our planning officer has placed in front of us. Thank you.
Well, I think you can quite easily do that as an individual.
Right.
I
Okay.
personally don't feel that it should be coming from this committee. We accepted the planning officer's recommendation, and it was turned down on the grounds of the detriment it would have to on the area of AOMB. And that's something that this committee has, over many years now, we've supported anything to support the AOMB. So I wouldn't really want to be sending a letter from this committee.
Okay, right, thank you, Chair.
What, Madam Chairman, that was in respect of the last application. Am I not right in saying that the planning appeal that is in fact in respect of the previous application?
It is, it's the one that came to us.
And on that application, it was made very strong, and the refusal was on the grounds of AOMB and also highway safety.
And I think in the last application that we had in front of us, the highway safety had been addressed, and it was to the satisfaction of Lancashire County Council, which actually does have control over the highways issues.
But it was raised even when that came up for discussion by members of the committee who showed their concerns, and it was because we were directed by the planning officer not to pursue that avenue, that it was then allowed to continue on that. But as we are looking at the planning application prior, which was rejected on AOMB and highway safety, for that not to be identified in the response that goes to the inspector, and the suggestion that that has now been resolved with nothing being done, makes a bit of a mockery of the decision that we and the P&R made on that decision. I would have said.
Councillor Newman?
Well, I totally agree with that, Chair. And, you know, we seem to be going round in a bit of a circle with this. There seems to be somewhere along the line that, I don't know, some determination here from the, I don't know, I should say there's not, from the planning officer to get this through. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel.
Well, it can't be determination to get it through, as has been recommended to refuse, which is why there's an appeal.
Only on one of the ANOB, which we actually refuse it on the line of sight on the road and everything.
Chairman, can I just come in?
Yes, Senator.
I wonder whether, in Catherine Hughes' absence, we don't have a planning representative here at the meeting, and I'm not totally familiar with both appeals. I wonder whether it might help if maybe tomorrow the chairman could speak to Catherine Hughes about this, and maybe the matter could be delegated to the chairman to discuss with Catherine Hughes, and to see whether it's feasible to put in some additional comments. It might not be the appropriate thing, I'm not sure. That was just a suggestion.
Thank you for that, Joanne. Yes, I'll certainly have a word with Catherine.
I don't know whether Dave wanted to add anything to that.
David? No?
Sensible approach, the way to get forward. Thank you.
Yes, I think we've got to move forward on this. There is an appeal going. There is an appeal being heard in the next few days. So.
Well, it's not being. May I come in again?
Yes, you can, Robin.
Thank you very much. The appeal is not being heard in the next few days, but you have a deadline on Monday within which further comments can go in. It's an unusual situation. There wouldn't usually be further comments at this stage, the planning officer having done his statement. But I just feel that there has been a misunderstanding here. I don't want to say anybody misled anybody else or anything else. I think there's been a misunderstanding when you had your previous meeting on this in January, and you were thinking, well, if we don't say anything about highways, it will still be on the table before the inspector. Because you've been told by the planning officer that the two reasons for the decision were there by virtue of the application which was under appeal. I'm not suggesting that you try to. The planning officer is telling you that in technical planning procedure grounds, which incidentally I find extraordinary, because you didn't make a decision or on the highway safety issue, you didn't refuse it, then you've accepted it. I don't think that you intended that to be the case on that further application in January. I think you were just saying, well, there are clearly still highway safety issues, which could be either way. We note that Lancashire County Council have said that they are satisfied with the visibilities play points. There wasn't much on the other aspect of increased vehicle usage one way or another, but that was that. We note that, but we needn't get involved with it. We'll just do the AONB ground. But it appears that is not interpretable in that way, technically, in planning procedure terms, although I find that quite incredible. All I was suggesting was that just a mild middle course here is not for you to take up cudgels with the planning officer one way or try to demand a further statement or anything else, but simply to do a mild letter or explanation, further supplemental explanation going in on behalf of the council, saying that, and I've actually got a tiny bit of wording here that I might read you, that by refraining from including a refusal on the highways grounds, it was not this committee's intention to make any decision on highway safety and access being satisfactorily resolved, but rather being aware of the existing appeal to leave those issues open.
Robin, can I just point out, we are talking about the application that came in 2017, which was refused, and one of the reasons for refusal in 2017 was the highways issue, so it will be considered. But also what will be considered is Lancashire County Council's response.
Well, that won't necessarily be the case. As far as your council is concerned, your council is now put in a statement saying that the highway safety issue has been resolved, full stop. And you've got councillors sitting there saying, well, we're very unhappy about that. We didn't intend that to be the case. So far as the statement of the council's position is concerned. But that is currently the statement of the council's position on this appeal. And the other thing that is out of the window, the further application, they haven't made an appeal on that. It's not there, but it has had an effect on the existing appeal in terms of the council's position, which I don't think is. And I would suggest that you simply make it clear that that wasn't your intention.
Right, I will have a word with the planning officer.
Madam Chairman, may I point out and clarify that we all understood that the planning application, the planning appeal that we are now considering is for the planning application that was refused on highway safety and AONB, or AONB and highway safety, whichever way we wanted. And in that application, Lancashire County Council were not in support of the highways.
They did raise concerns about the highways.
Yes, they did, yes.
Yes,
on that application.
And that is why the next application that came in addressed those issues. And that is why it was refused on grounds of AONB. Councillor Newman, you're still showing you're wishing to speak. You're muted.
Thank you, Chair. Are they looking for at the first refusal?
Yes.
Of this plan application? Yes. They are.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever's on whatever we disagreed on that was 2 items: A&OB and the
Highways.
highways. As far as I'm concerned, neither of them have been resolved, because I think we did get led up the garden path by the second application. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Newman. So I will take it that we're all happy that I have a word with the planning department, and get back to you on this.
That's fine by me.
Okay. Any other queries on any of the other appeals?
Nope.
No.
No.
No, thank you. No.
Thank you. Enforcement action. I don't think there's been any move on any of the enforcement action.
Right.
I don't think any enforcement officers have been able to get out and.
Could I, Chair?
Yeah.
I asked at the last meeting about the Douglas Hall farm, and I haven't had any reply. Could we just ask the planning officer, Catherine Hughes, as what has anybody been to look, and what is the outcome, please?
Yes, certainly. Joanne, could you make a note of it, and we'll ask Catherine.
Okay, thank you very much.
In fact, I can probably ask her when I'm talking to her about.
Okay, you can have a meeting on your own. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yes. Capital programme.
Right.
Balance is £546, and there's no new bids in, so
Roll over.
everybody has enough money.
Yeah. Roll over to next year.
Roll over. Yep.
Yes, you can roll over till next year.
If you could,
Opening the
please.
Barrowford Town Centre. Anything on this, Ken?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, there are 57 businesses and shops that are engaged in Barrowford Town Centre, all of which have had contact, from which we have had response from 31 and detailed conversations with 27 of the shops and businesses. Out of those 27, 21 indicated that they would like to become part of the features situation of doing features within the Barrowford webpage, and that is now progressing. I was hoping today to announce the release of the webpage, but there's been a slight technical difficulty, so as a consequence of that, it's been slightly delayed, and I'm hoping it will be published before the next meeting. I'd set a target of 15 to go on for the features, and we're now up to 21, as well as some more waiting to possibly come into it. There have been purely 3 people who have said they weren't interested in the features. The 3 others have all said they would like to be party to it, but frankly, they're not trading at the moment, and they don't know what the situation will be when they get back to work as to whether they can subscribe. What was then the £20 a month now looks like being £15 a month. As a consequence, I was delighted with the response that came from the traders, and it looks like we're going to be able to have a wonderful service that is coming through. The web page will continue after July the 1st, and after July the 1st, hopefully it will then be extended so as to include local areas around to it as well, to show the benefits, to bring more people into Barrowford and areas. The response has been good. We have agreed the publication of a leaflet now, and the leaflet will be distributed as soon as the web page is being published, showing that Barrowford is unfortunately tentatively closed at the moment, with another leaflet to be distributed immediately after it's reopened to tell people to come in and shop. there's been posters designed, and they are subject to the committee's agreeing, will be published, will be printed, and can then be displayed on the lampposts on the entrances to Barrowford. We are progressing quite well. It's engaging to see the amount of response that we've had from people, and the only thing that people have complained about is the lack of parking, and that's something that we're certainly looking to see if there's any resolutions to it. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Turner. Any questions you want to ask Councillor Turner? Right, item 9, to consider the exclusion of the public and press.
Move.
Are people happy that we exclude the public and press?
Move.
Thank you. All in favour? Thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Newman? And problem sites.
Chairman, so if we just wait a minute just to make sure that we're no longer live streaming, I'll let you know.
Yes, I keep